For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jakub. I started this Zeta Alpha thing, and I'm going to be presenting with Sergi, who's still trying to hook us up to a YouTube live stream. Very important. Yeah, with Zeta Alpha, we are building this company and platform to leverage AI, leverage neural search, to build research assistants, cognitive assistants for people as a very long-term goal. In the meantime, we are also keeping track of the pulse of AI, and there's a lot of stuff happening. Kind of the problem got inspired by ourselves, having all these papers and sorting them in piles on tables, etc. So it didn't work. We built something for that. I hope many of you are using it already. But we're also informing in other ways. So actually, Sergi and I and Marzi are doing this monthly webinar, Trends in AI. We do interviews with leading researchers, and yeah, keeps us pretty busy, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
So let's get going with the program. It's our third edition already. And last year we were here kind of in the in a pause in the pandemic. We managed to pull off an in-person event here. So now it's the third edition of Transformers at Work. And really, I'm going to steal a little bit your thunder from your presentation, but is the year been the year where Transformers take over everything, really, like all other data modalities apart from text and NLP, computer vision, reinforcement learning, much more. Sergi is going to talk about that. Also for us, a very important milestone, 3 years. So we actually started the company here in one of these containers at the Startup Village. And this is the third edition of Transformers at Work. So it means we also celebrating our 3-year anniversary as Zeta Alpha. And those who know a little bit the theory of startups, they say 90% of startups don't make it past 3 years. So hey, we're here. In fact, we no longer have our office right now at Science Park. But next week we are moving back, but not to the containers. We're moving to the brand new AI community building, Lab 42. So we're super excited about that. And we're going to be neighbors with many of you, I guess. Yeah, this is our platform. There is actually going to be a demo stand in the breaks outside. Gabriel's going to be demoing there. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time what you can do with the platform now. But we've been pretty busy, I must say. So this is our list of release notes for the last 12 months. So we've churned out pretty good pace of releases every 2 months or so. And just want to highlight a few ones that I'm particularly proud of. So we've built in a PDF reader where you can organize your notes and do contextual search on while you're reading a paper. This one. And we have built the platform so that you can also index your own documents. So it has private document search, also pretty unique for academic search. And more recently, we've expanded beyond just the core focus in AI and data science into all of science, building a architecture for federated search. That's very important in our journey because we're actually not only want to index AI and data science content. We're building a neural discovery platform where we leverage neural retrieval to power discovery in any type of content, especially private business content. And here you see an example where in about a week we deployed our platform entirely in a private Azure cloud and made it work on chemistry papers, so very different domain from AI and data science. And we're pretty proud of that. Also, we released our search API as a product, and actually there's this other AI community platform more for data science beginners called Agents. The founder of that, is going to be here later as well. And actually, all of their search is powered by Zeta Alpha in production. So proud of that. And just 2 days ago, we did another major release. So first of all, it's not a software release, but we thought it would be really important to unite you guys in a community talking about research papers and sharing knowledge about your research and your questions. So we have launched the Zeta Alpha community, a Slack channel, and using this QR code, it will come up again. You can also ask questions during this event. In the software, we've started indexing Hugging Face content. Who here does use Hugging Face in the transformers in their work? One or two, maybe, maybe a few dozen. So you can also search all the content from the Hugging Face hub now in Zeta Alpha. And last but not least, we allow you to share your literature collections with the public. So if you have done your research and made a nice collection of literature, share it on Zeta Alpha. So what are we working on now? Actually, this week, Rodrigo Nogueira, one of the speakers, came and we started prototyping kind of our next steps. And that is really, we've noticed that the bottleneck in recommending AI literature is still kind of the human brain. So we can recommend very precisely the papers that you should read, but if you don't have time to read them, it's not going to come in. So we started prototyping a while ago with this sort of visualization. So how can we make sense of a whole conference? So ICML was kind of our example. Over 1,200 papers. How can you quickly see what's going on there? So we do this kind of embeddings-based neural visualization. But the problem was still like, okay, it looks nice, but pretty confusing. So we've made some progress on that, and this is actually the selection of papers not from ICML, but from kind of, what was your selection?
Papers filtered by keyword transformers from the past year, ranked by popularity on Twitter.
And so how do we get these nice labels on the clusters? Well, basically, we ask large language models to generate the labels from the clusters. And that's the first kind of step into digesting 1,200 papers or more in this visual map interface. And this goes further. We're trying to see whether if you have a very complex set of research questions, here we're doing some work for the State of AI report, which has questions like what is the adoption of AI accelerator hardware, or what domains have transformers been used on in the past year. So we just type that as unstructured data. And then on the fly, we can generate these kind of analytics reports. It's very much a prototype, but that's something we are working on, and we're very excited about. It's going to come back in some of the talks later on. So yeah, let's go back to the program. And yeah, basically we want to talk about what's going on in transformers. And Sergi is going to give a little bit of an introduction to that. And we think we have a very exciting, diverse program with a lot of topics where the field might be heading next. So it's really kind of what is next for transformers, not so much as what has happened over the past year, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, and so on social media and on our Slack channel, this is again the QR code. You can join the discussion channel. We're using that channel and a hashtag. So enjoy the program. And last but not least, you know, a lot of people think we're hyping transformers too much. I think they've pretty much taken over the entire deep learning space. So you can hype things too much. But I do want to also hype a lot Turbo Guru, who is going to be playing for us here on this stage tonight at 7:30. So don't miss out on that. So enjoy the program. Sergi, stage is yours.
And let's give the pointer another chance, maybe. Yeah, works. Exactly. Hi everyone. My name is Sergi. I'm an analyst at Zeta Alpha, which means that I try to read stuff and stay up to date and talk about it, communicate it, like Jakub said previously, on blogs and webinars that we do. And at this time it's pretty hard thing to do, with so many stuff coming up. But we try to make the best out of it. So to start, I wanted to ask a couple of questions in the room. So first of all, who was here last year? I think it works. Yeah, not that many. I could have reused some jokes, but no. So I think that I'm getting the sense that
it wasn't me.
So I think that we have a pretty varied audience, which I think is pretty cool and not that usual in terms of who's working on industry, who's working on research. So for instance, could we have some hands up on who's working in industry, not academia? Okay, a lot of hands up. What about academia? Not too bad. Cool. So there's been a lot of sorry. And one of the things that I think people argue very passionately about are frameworks, right? You're probably very familiar with your work in machine learning with a lot of these things. So I wanted to get some hands up of who works on a, let's say, weekly basis with PyTorch or has to deal with that. See a lot of hands up. Another, I can just, oh, cool. Yeah. So the next one is for the cool kids, right? Who's using JAX? I'm guessing
That's pretty good.
It's only Google employees. That's a lot of papers still. And finally we have, oh yeah, why is it not showing that? Cool. TensorFlow. Who's cursed with using TensorFlow? And no shame, we're not judging. All right. So another thing that a lot of people in ML use is Twitter to discover papers and so to get all of that. So who uses Twitter on a regular basis to discover content, follow, hands up? Yeah, that's quite a lot. But who uses Twitter more than they should? Not that many brave hands. But for those of us, we're not alone there. So at least that's something. So finally, about the name of this event, Transformers at Work. So I'm guessing most of the people know what a transformer is, right? Here, can we get some hands up? Okay, you see some shy hands. So we're just gonna do a very quick thing. So in 2014, these guys proposed this attention mechanism in the context of machine translation, and that basically uses some processing to align input and target sentences. And a few years later, these guys here proposed to only use that, do it with the same sentence using self-attention, stack a bunch of those things, and call it a transformer, and it works really well apparently. So that revolutionized the field. This figure, appeared in thousands and thousands of other publications, and then it started this pretty annoying tradition of using all you need in paper titles, like patches are all you need, gradation all you need, segmentation all you need, image segmentation is all you need. You get the point. And if you actually use the Zeta Alpha platform to do some analytics of the number of papers on archive containing all you need in the title, it's not very hopeful because it looks like it's still the number is still growing. But I think most interestingly, if you look at 2015, there's one paper there, and I think that's a lesser known fact, that the actual pioneers of the all you need saga are these guys. All you need is good in it, which, if you ask me, rolls off the tongue very nicely. So they should probably get more credit for that. All right. So I stole this slide from Lucas Bayer's Introduction to Transformers at Work, because it's kind of very succinct and it like summarizes very well what happened in the last few years in ML, which is previously you had all these different architectures, right, for different domains of machine learning. And then if you fast forward from 2017 to nowadays, you get something closer to this, right, where you have pretty much the same architecture, is capable of solving any of the tasks. And I think that Andrew is going to talk a little bit about that with multimodality and that. Another very nice piece of data that exemplifies this. This is data that Matthias, ML engineer Zeta Alpha, collected for us. Is like how transformers took over a bunch of modalities. So the first time we did this workshop, it was early 2020, I think, and at that time, pretty much transformers were used for NLP, like for text data. And you can see on the left kind of a breakdown of topics of like what fields transformers are used at. For like from 2017 to 2020, you see like most of it is text. But if you go to 2021, the data modality starts splitting, and like then suddenly images, multimodality, audio, and all these applications start to pop up. And if you look at 2022, it's even more like the slice of the pie for text is even smaller. And it's really nice because I think that the program of this workshop exemplifies that. So last year I showed you this slide, which kind of like puts together a bunch of advancements from 2017 to this point last year, with how like transformers and like BERT and passage tree ranking from Rodrigo, and Hugging Face and like AlphaFold and vision transformers. And so I wanted to wrap up this introduction by talking a little bit about what has happened since then. So I think that definitely text-to-image generative models have been like one of the rage last year. So we've had like DALL-E 2, then Imagen, then Party, which is a lesser known also model from Google. Not all of them use diffusion, interestingly, but you could say that diffusion is kind of also the coolest kid in town. There's Glide, and most recently there's Stable Diffusion, with a public release that really took over Twitter and everything. And today we're going to have a couple of talks about computer vision from Thomas Keep and Kay Snook. It's interesting because last year we had Mostafa Degani explain about vision transformers. It's quite impressive how far in only 1 year these architectures have become, and how much they've took over computer vision. And I think Kay Snook is going to talk a lot about this whole thing about inductive biases and like what is the kind of the role of inductive biases in computer vision and transformers. Secondly, multimodality. I think that has also, it's not a new thing of 2022, but it's certainly something that has grown a lot. DeepMind has published a bunch of papers that focus on this. You could argue also like the text-to-image models are very much multimodal. We're going to have Andrew talk about that, which I'm super excited with the Perceiver line of work. That has been something that has been going on for like the last couple of years. And I'm super looking forward to that. Then the large language models, I think this is also something that has been a recurrent topic in the last few years. This is from a paper about analyzing kind of compute errors in machine learning. And I think it's quite interesting to note that maybe not so much of a new order of magnitude has been broken in the last year, although like there's PAM, for instance, or OPT, Bloom, but we've seen a lot of new of these language models, but I think what's most interesting is what you can do with them, which is what Rodrigo is going to talk, and also Gautier, I think, is going to talk about that, which is these whole language models have opened up a new domain of possibilities, especially when you look at prompting and what you can do simply by modifying prompts. And this has become also like the prompting part has become something powerful in computer vision, even information retrieval with the differentiable search index, for instance. Like a lot of things are opening up in that space. For instance, I don't know if you're going to talk about this, but all of these things about how you can tweak prompts to get more better reasoning out of the models. That has definitely been one of the highlights of this past year. More efficient and more knowledgeable. Retrieval enhanced machine learning, I think, is here to stay. It's also one of the trends that I'm most excited about. This is also not new, but this year has picked up a lot of momentum. Gautier is going to talk about that. Is this whole area of using an explicit memory access from a model and having that to make models way more efficient and more factually correct. And there's been like all of the big labs have been publishing in this space, and we're going to have Gautier from Meta talk about that. And finally, benchmarking. I would like to just highlight how there's this very, 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 very slow trend, but still kind of noticeable trend in a shift in benchmarking culture to be more interested in generalization and not just like one data set performance, but like kind of this out of domain evaluation. And I think last year we had Niels Reimers talk about this beer benchmark. It's been super nice this past year. A lot of papers have been evaluating on that, and that has become like a new, really common benchmark to test generalization. There's this knowledge intensive NLP for like specialized for retrieval augmented language models. Also this beyond the imitation game to try to quantify performance of these like massive language models. And I think that's all very welcome initiatives. And finally, a little bit of a different flavor. We're gonna have Åke Vickers from Qualcomm explaining how you take these models and run them on edge devices, which is super relevant in this day and age when a lot of neural networks are running on our phones. And Ahmed soon talking about transfer learning, which has been arguably like the biggest revolution from this whole pre-training, then fine-tuning on other tasks. That said, I wanted to end this introduction before we go on with the first talk from Marzi. With this little slide, I don't know that much about this because this came out yesterday from Adept, which is this new company with a lot of high-profile researchers. They basically announced that they trained a big language, well, not language model, but a big transformer on actions and basically like describing a sequence of action, like something you want from a program. And the model learns to perform those complex tasks in potentially very complex software, which has a lot of interesting implications with like automation with a lot of tasks that require a lot of clicks. And I haven't tried this. I haven't given that much thought, but I think it just exemplifies how fast the progress happens. Like GPT-4 could be released like right now, and like maybe that's thing. In 2020, that was a pretty big paradigm shift, I would argue. But yeah, so that said, I think we should go ahead with the actual content. Changing on slides. So Marzi Fadoy, our NLP research lead at Zeta Alpha. She's responsible for all the research that we do. And I won't steal the thunder from you. So please, big applause.